What's up, everybody? Welcome back to HR Heretics. Today, Kelly, we have another Dear Heretics segment. So, Dear Heretics, I am doing a reorg right now at a big tech company. We are currently on week 4 of the same conversation with the HR and legal team. Literally everybody in our business wants to do this reorg, but HR and legal continue to come up with these reviews for us to do. I am getting no real work done. Nothing is happening around the business. Things are just like stopping to talk about this reorg. What do I do and how do I move forward? What's your take, Kelly?
Yeah. Well, let's empathize first. I will just speak freely, being at a Yahoo, being at an Intuit, right? The larger companies, these things get out. They're much more public, usually, and they hit with big splashes and all these things. So I do understand wanting to make sure things are tight and they make sense. I do. On the other side of it, it can be really grueling and take a really long time. And the thing that I also empathize on being on the other side in venture, where we move faster, is by the time you get through the 5-week slog of approvals and the paperwork and all these things to justify, like, the org doesn't make sense anymore. You're reorganizing.
You made a mistake. There's always a mistake that's made. Totally.
By the time you're done, you got to start again. So I feel like we have to find a better way because, again, I've been out of the big companies for 15 years, but my short time in Google Cloud and what I remember from the past, it was a lot of stuff and it went really slow. And I do think that can be improved.
Yeah. This is why the meme exists around why people hate big companies and why people hate HR and legal. Like, I get it. I totally understand. Like, we want to make sure that we do the work and everybody's prepped and we're super thoughtful about who's involved and how it's communicated. And lots of shit happens in reorgs, right? Jobs change, jobs get eliminated. You got to make sure that you're dotting I's and crossing T's with employment legal. But at some point, it's just like, can we please get back to operating the business? And that point is almost always weeks before the actual reorg happens. And so, Kelly, my take on this is like, think about the worst thing that happened. If you're the HR and legal team of this company, think about the worst thing that happens if you move fast. The worst thing that happens is like somebody's job was impacted and it wasn't communicated well to them and they're living in this level of uncertainty or something of that nature to where it's like, oh shit, like we forgot about this one person and like, it's like, we got to go fix that really fast. That typically happens anyways. It's, if you think about reorgs, like the amount of communication that happens, especially when you're dealing with hundreds of people or potentially like into the thousands, like it's a game of telephone. And so that's going to happen anyways. And I find that if you spent most of that time just like get it done and then spent the time after the fact like trying to clean it up, I actually think you end up in a better place than you do with this perfect plan, with the perfect plan actually never coming to fruition.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of this is trying to get to complete perfection on it. Now let's think about why though. Like if I'm an employment lawyer at a large company, Nolan, that's literally my job. Like my only job is to keep the company out of hot water and have zero risk, and I get paid like $380,000 to do so. Like I'm gonna fucking do everything I can to make it perfect. Like that is the incentive. Do you know what I mean? Because it comes back on the desk, and so I think I agree with you that the goal, I think, needs to be enough perfection to balance the needs of the business. Like what is the risk we can take here? And that's what we do, right, in the venture world a lot, is like what is the risk we are willing to live with in order to reap and maximize why we're doing this in the first place. And so I think for CPOs out there and GCs and the groups that are looking at this stuff, I think that is our goal, is to figure out like the minimum viable amount that we can move forward with that satisfies both sides. And I'm not saying that just to be like, go ahead, go fast, do anything they want. There's two sides of that coin. There's, yes, bending sometimes, taking risk, moving a little bit faster and executing. But there is the other side. Like, we were doing some work at Pendo a few years ago, and I'm usually one that's, more on the entrepreneurial side and let's go. And I said, absolutely not. You guys don't get the plans in by this date that are sane and make sense. We're not executing until this date. Like, once you hit this date, your target date gets moved out by each day it takes. And that's the best I can give you to be able to sleep at night and what I think is the viable amount of risk, which I'm usually happy taking risk. So I do think there's that side of it too.
So your view of the world in that situation was anything else, like if we would have pushed it through, it would have been haphazard and below our standard. And I think risk is a part, like everyone just defaults to risk. Like, I think risk is a part of it, but I actually think the bigger thing is like, it's just not thoughtful. And so that's actually more what we should anchor on is like, does this make sense?
And that was it. Are we treating people well? Like, this is going to be a disaster. Like, sure, we could write it off and give people set, but it would feel bad. It would look bad.
Yeah.
It would actually slow down the business and the exact reason we're doing this, ironically, if you do it haphazardly. So, and so I said, this is the last possible date you can be delinquent until we got to start pushing out. And I will tell you, people, to your point, people don't like HR and legal because of these things. But if you don't operate that way all the time and they respect you, like when you do need to pull that card once in a while, they listen. I mean, Todd was like, got it. Yep, got it. If we don't get it here, we're not doing it. So you can use it freely, but it has to make sense.
Yeah. I think that's a great case study in a good partnership, right? Where you had a good partnership with Todd, who was the CEO, and a good partnership with the rest of the executive teams. I tend to think that that's not how it actually works at most companies, Kelly. I think at most companies, it is exactly what you said to begin with around employment legal being essentially incentivized to have zero risk. And operating a business, zero risk is not reality. And so I just think it ends up, what employment legal and HR should be doing is, if you think about the analogy of a motor, it should be like adding like the high synthetic oil to the motor, right? To where we can go longer, we can go faster, we can push harder. And oftentimes it ends up being like the mechanic from hell. To where it's like, I just keep finding problems that you never, like, they actually don't, they are a problem for sure, but you wouldn't have known about it for 100,000 more miles. And at that point you would have already sold the goddamn thing.
Like a Honda, like it's fine forever.
Yeah, just like, fix it now. So that's the thing I think is what's really happening here is like, not only are these people incentivized for zero risk, but they're also just like looking for things to solve and inventing problems.
Hey everyone, we'll be right back in a moment after a word from our sponsors.
I must admit, I used to believe that AI didn't actually exist in recruiting or HR. That is until my friend Heather Doche, who leads talent at Signalfire, told me to check out Metaview. I got into the product and was like, wow, AI actually does exist in recruiting, and this product is sick. Metaview is the world's #1 AI scribe built specifically for recruiting. Their AI records and transcribes hiring conversations, like intakes, interviews, and debriefs, then provides perfectly summarized notes of everything that was discussed. I've seen firsthand how tough it can be to extract consistently high-quality data from candidate conversations. I've been in debriefs where interviewers told us about their feelings instead of what actually happened in the interview. And I've seen VPs and CEOs block hires because they didn't learn anything from skeleton scorecards. Metaview changes everything. With perfect notes from every conversation, your people can focus on creating a human connection with candidates, and they can save time on the busy work of cleaning up notes after every interview. But it's so much more than just a time saver, because perfect notes means perfect data. For every candidate and every pipeline, hiring teams can make confident, informed decisions, and talent leaders can finally take control of the interview process. Metaview covers all your compliance needs, works with all your existing tools, and takes less than 3 minutes to set up. Join talent leaders at organizations like Brex, Deal, HelloFresh, and Quora, and check out Metaview. Head over to metaview.ai/heretics to talk to one of Metaview's product experts. Tell them that me and Kelly sent you. Or you could just go to their website and get started for free. You'll be up, running, and AI enabled in minutes.
Yeah, you know what? I wish I would have had this podcast back in 4, when I was into it. And do you know what can be helpful in that I wish I would have done, that if it's helpful for you all at these, even smaller companies, larger or smaller, I would venture to guess also that the employment lawyers, think about it, they're not attending leadership staff meetings. They're not hearing these leaders run around like psycho people all day and being pressured and pushing things. Like, they're usually hanging out in the office. They're doing academic type thing. They're very smart.
And lattes.
I mean, they're freaking smart people. But I guess my point is, they're not exposed to the jungle every day. And so you usually get the HR person that's going back and forth playing, at least I did, right? You're going back and forth playing translator and trying to kind of negotiate between these two parties. Just bring the legal counsel in with you to meet with the business leader. Like, I think that is one tactical thing I would take away, is try as much as you can to connect the three of you together so that they can feel the wrath of the motor, not just tinkering with it when it's quiet and in the garage.
I love that. That's such a great strategy, because then you could be in the meeting when business leader says, so we can do this on Monday. And you go, yeah, Jason, can we do this on Monday?
Yeah. Come on, Jason. Okay. It's a great strategy. I think, again, I don't know if a lot of HR people, they tend to keep playing translator, and so lose.
The other thing I'll mention is, at some point, we have to stop planning and start running a business. And I just feel like this is like the intellectual trap. Like, it feels really good to plan. Like, I like to plan. I like to plan vacations. I like to plan offsites. I like to plan all sorts of shit. But at some point, it's just like, how many brain cycles have I spent on this thing when, like, ultimately I'm going to put it into reality, and then all sorts of shit is going to break anyways, and then I'm going to go fix that stuff. And I just feel like, I use this term, Kelly, and it's not applicable all the time, but I think at some point when people can usually feel it, it becomes intellectual masturbation.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm just saying, though, I don't want everyone to go right and think, Nolan told me just to go and clean all this shit up later. Like, this is not a license to be reckless.
Okay, talk to me about your timeline. Like, let's just talk, like, brass tacks right now. I said we're at a 1,500 person company. I want to do like a reorg of 100 person department in that company. How long?
Yeah. How many people get riffed?
0.
0 people lose their job.
Rift. 0 people lose their job in this example.
Oh, I mean, how many chairs are moving in the reorg, Nolan? I mean, is it
100? Say 15%.
15% of the people at 1,500 person organization have job changes.
1,500 person company, 100 person department, 15 people are having a job change.
Oh, week or two.
Exactly. I totally agree. A week. Like, let's go.
Yeah. I asked about the riff because it's a different thing.
I agree.
If you were riffing those 15 people, let's say numbers, 1,500 person company, 100 person organization, 15 people lose their jobs, 3 weeks.
That's super fair for me. Super fair.
Yeah.
I love that.
And that's everything. And a lot of people are like, okay, 3 weeks and I'm going to do all the, comparisons, selections, justification, documentation, adverse impact analysis. That is not the only thing. Like, the communication before, getting people, in the right positions, in the right mindset, preparing for this, and most importantly, the communications and the solidification after you do this stuff. Well, that's what you get in the 3-week package, Nolan. You get the event, more importantly than the event, a lot of ways, is the bookends that hug it.
Yeah. And most important, to your point, the most important thing is the day after.
Exactly.
That's the most important thing, because it turns out we still got to run a business. So thank you for the question on this one. Please keep them coming. We love these questions so much, and we appreciate your listenership. HR Heretics is a podcast from Turpentine, the network behind Econ 102, Moment of Zen, and Turpentine VC. Subscribe, 5 stars, share it on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, all the things.